What's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Revelx, and this is part of the Parse Paramedic series. Specifically, this is episode 2, and we're going to be talking about today how to hit above 50,000 damage per second on a Magicka pet sorcerer for the Elsweyr patch. So, first things first, I have a few housekeeping items to get out of the way. So I did upgrade my video software so I can record in 1080p now, so you guys get to see full resolution now, so that's awesome. Also, someone asked me why I'm dressed up like this. That is because I typically record these videos right when I get off work, and this is what I wear to work, so this is what you see me in. Back to the actual video now. I've spent quite a few hours researching and testing Pet Sorc on both the test server for Elsweyr now and also the normal server, so I have a lot to share with you guys. This video is going to be very jam-packed. To start things off, in order for me to enjoy and run a build in the game, I really have 3 baseline requirements, and the first one is I have to be able to survive with this build in vet content and trials and that sort of thing. And the second one is I have to be able to hit high AoE damage, okay? And that's just for mob pulls, trash pulls, and any bosses that have multiple adds involved in the boss process. And the third one is I have to be able to hit above 50,000 damage per second single target on a single target parse with 810 CP and full perfect golded gear. Now, do keep in mind, in order to hit the 50,000 damage per second, in order for this build and this video to give you the results that you're looking for, you do need to know how to light attack weave, okay? It's very, very important that you're able to light attack weave. If you're on light attack weave, if you're not fully comfortable with it, I did just make a video on light attack weaving. That is episode 1. So check out episode 1 of the Parse Paramedic series for a guide on light attack weaving if you are not fully comfortable on that yet, because I won't really be discussing that a whole lot in this video. All right, good deal. So those are the 3 requirements we're going to be talking through. There's a few different gear sets I'm going to present to you guys as different options for different types of content. If you're just here for the parses, those will be at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and jump right in with gearing. Alright, so let's jump right into this. So what we're looking at right now is my superstar. It's like a scorecard for your character. The link is in the description below for this add-on if you do not have it already. So running through real quick what we see that there is vampirism. I am a vampire, stage 2 vampire or higher with the right passive slotted, get 10% extra Magicka recovery. Very, very important to keep your sustain up to be that stage 2 or higher vampire with the passive slotted. Next up, you're going to see I am running the Shadow Boon with all of your gear pieces in Divines. The Shadow is going to give right under 20% critical damage increase. Now you'll notice the 5 piece I have right here is Mother's Sorrow, which increases your spell critical greatly. So basically Mother's Sorrow increases your chance to do spell damage, and then you have the Shadow increasing how hard you hit when you do the spell damage, so they really build on each other. Very strong combination. Next up, you're going to see for monster set, I am wearing the Zaan's monster set right now, okay? Now, with the Zaan's monster set, this is the best single target Magicka monster set in the game for single target DPS. However, it's very conditional. You have to stay within 8 meters of the enemy. If you move out of 8 meters of the enemy, when this effect is occurring, you break the damage beam, and you lose a massive amount of damage. Zaan's will give you a little bit over a 2k damage increase if you can stay within 8 meters. If you cannot stay within 8 meters of the enemy, Zaan's will not give you any damage, really, so you'd be better off wearing another monster set. Now, so again, if you can stay within 8 meters, use Zaan's. It's by far the best. If you cannot stay within 8 meters, let's talk about what to use then. So if you cannot stay within 8 meters, you want to use Alambris. So looking at this right here, this will fire off no matter how far away from you are from the boss, as long as you're doing flame or shock damage to the boss. Alambris will hit the boss. So if you cannot stay within 8 meters, use Alambris. It's a very strong set. Alambris will give you somewhere between 1 to 1.5k damage per second approximately, so you're losing somewhere between 500 to 1000 damage per second from using Alambris versus Zaan's. But again, if you're not within 8 meters for Zaan's, then Alambris hits way harder since Zaan's doesn't hit at all. Alright, so that's monster sets. Moving on, right now you see I have the 5-piece Necropotence. This is a fantastic starter set and for certain situations. So Necropotence gives you an extra 3,150 Magicka. This is an always active bonus. That extra Magicka is going to make sustain a whole lot easier because you have an extra 3k Magicka pool. With Necropotence on, when you see me do my parse at the end of this video, you'll notice that I hit 53.5k damage per second with Zaan's and Necropotence and Mother Sorrow on, okay? So a very solid set. Now, Necropotence is not maximum damage, but it's very low maintenance. If you're looking for the highest damage, you're going to want to wear what I am wearing right now, which is Sororia's. With Sororia's active, it gives you up to 600 extra spell damage. Now, the important thing to understand about Sororia's is while it is the highest damage Magicka set for this instead of Necropotence, it's only high damage if you can stay within the ring, okay? So while you're in the Sororia's ring, you're going to get up to the 600 extra spell damage. Now, look around my feet, you see that ring form, okay? As long as you can stay within the ring, you get that 600 extra spell damage, super strong, you do massive damage. Now, if I move out of the ring, if I cannot manage to stay in the ring, because I have to keep on moving around, I'm just going to tap it again, there's the ring again. If I cannot stay in the ring, I don't get any spell damage, okay? So once again, if you are not able to stay in that ring during the fight, this 5-piece set from Sororia's is giving you 0 damage increase. So Necropotence will hit much harder than Sororia's if you are not able to stay in the ring. If you're able to stay in the ring, Sororia's will hit much harder than Necropotence. So know what fight you're going into, know whether you'll be able to stand in one place in a ring or if you're going to be constantly moving, and choose Sororia's or Necropotence accordingly. Alright, so that is that. We already talked about Mother Sorrow. I'm just going to go over the weapons really quickly. On the front bar, you see I have the Inferno Staff of Mother Sorrow. Inferno Staffs do 8% higher single target damage from the Destruction Staff passives line. You can go check those out if you want. I have a flame damage enchant on that, very powerful enchant. Infused, I've seen some people use precise instead of infused. I personally prefer infused, goes down to personal preference. On the back bar, I have a lightning staff. Most builds you're going to see 2 fire staffs. However, for this specific build, I prefer using the Maelstrom's lightning staff because you get much higher AoE damage. Now we're going to go into that in more detail once we get to the AoE rotation, but in my opinion, Maelstrom's lightning staff is best in slot for this build that I'm about to show you. Over here, you see the CP champion point allocation. If you are not comfortable experimenting with champion points on your own, just use the one you see here. This is a great allocation. If you do like messing around with champion points, you can probably get a couple tenths of a % more damage per second by switching a couple here, a couple there, something like that. So if that is you, have at it. The food that you should be using is Clockwork Citrus Fillet, max health, max Magicka. It gives you Magicka and health restoration recovery. So very, very strong food. That's the food you should be using. You can also use Witch Mothers. It's less powerful than Clockwork, but it's cheaper. The parse food I use is Ghastly Eyeball because I do not have a healer throwing down shards or orbs for me. I use Ghastly Eyeball just to give me a little bit more sustain when I parse. Again, in an actual dungeon, I'll be using Clockwork, and then I'm going to have a healer throwing me shards, so I'll get even more sustain than from just using Ghastly Eyeball. Do want to make sure you're using Essence of Spell Power, Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy, and Magicka Restoration. You need to have your Alchemy passive all the way slotted so it lasts the full 47.6 seconds that you're seeing there. If you do not have your Alchemy passive medicinal use all the way upgraded all 3 ranks, you're going to want to do that for parsing purposes. And for damage in general. Okay, so that is the gear setup. Alright, let's jump right into the AoE rotation, AoE damage. Now, because we're running a pet Sorc build, that means 2 of our 5 skill slots are taken up by pets, right? So our little dude and then our flying guy on both the front bar and the back bar. Now, because we are in total 4 slots short, we don't have any extra slots to use an AoE Magicka damage spammable such as you would see right here. So we do not have an extra open slot to run this pulsar AoE damage. So what we're going to do instead, as I briefly touched on earlier, is we're going to use the Maelstrom's Lightning Staff. Now, why does the Lightning Staff do such high AoE damage, you ask? Well, great question. Let me show you real quick. So we're going to go into the Destruction Staff passive line under Ancient Knowledge. Equipping a Lightning Staff increases AoE damage by 8%. Okay, so an 8% damage increase to our AoE stuff from Lightning Staff. Now, the really powerful one is right here under Trifocus. Shock Staff heavy attacks damage nearby enemies for 100% of the damage done. Okay, that means when I heavy attack with the Shock Staff, it is hitting all the enemies in the area. It's a heavy duty AoE attack, a very, very strong AoE when used correctly. Now, specifically the Maelstrom's Lightning Staff, okay? Your attacks, your heavy attacks deal an additional 1.3k damage to enemies in your Wall of Elements. Now, as part of your AoE rotation, we're going to be dropping Wall of Elements, so Wall of Elements will always be on the ground. That means when you do that heavy attack hitting everyone, everyone's going to get that 1,300 damage per second or damage per attack increase. So that is massive. Maelstrom's Lightning Staff is a really, really nice AoE damage increase. If you are unsure how to get the Maelstrom's Lightning Staff, I'm planning to make a future Parse Paramedic video on how to farm Maelstrom weapons really quickly. If that's something that interests you guys, let me know in the comments below, or if you have any other ideas. Alright, also I have the Absorb Magicka enchantment on that. That's just to give some extra sustain. Let's go ahead and jump right into what that AoE rotation looks like. Now, first thing to note is that the AoE rotation is actually a single bar rotation, which makes it very, very strong. Alright, so right in front of me you see 9 test dummies standing in a perfect formation. This is definitely not realistic. However, what I'm trying to do here is just exhibit the potential for the AoE damage with this rotation. If you could, keep an eye on the DPS counter down at the bottom left corner of my screen. It is that second number in. So this number right here, this is going to be my AoE damage number, so just keep an eye on that while I do this rotation for a few seconds, just so you can see how crazy hard this AoE rotation hits. Now, one thing I want to mention, in the Parse videos, that will be after this, you're going to notice that I am using the Mage's Guild Ultimate Shooting Star. The reason I have that slotted is because of Mage's Guild passives that gives 2% extra magicka recovery. However, Elemental Rage, which is the Destruction Staff Ultimate right there, hits much harder in AoE situations. So if you do not have Shooting Star unlocked from the Mage's Guild, just use Elemental Rage instead. You'll only lose about 2% magic recovery, which isn't that much, and you'll do a lot more AoE damage. So if you don't have the Mage's Guild slotted, or you just want to hit much harder AoE damage, you would just have Elemental Rage on the back bar and Atronach on the front bar instead of the Shooting Star that you see in the Parse. Okay, so that is the setup. Now, as far as what to hit, you're going to start by hitting Lightning Flood, then you're going to hit Summon Volatile Familiar, and then you're going to hit Blockade of Storms. You're going to get all 3 of those skills down, and then you're just going to heavy attack, non-stop, hold down left click, and heavy attack until Lightning Flood, the first skill you laid down, comes off cooldown. Once that runs out, you're going to reapply all 3 of them and heavy attack again. It's a very, very simple, straightforward rotation. So obviously I'm going to keep my potions active the whole time, and because I have the Elemental Ultimate ready, I'm going to go ahead and drop that first. So if you ever have the Ultimate ready, drop that. So again, watch that DPS number down in the bottom left. Here we go. So I'm going to start by dropping that, then I'm going to drop Lightning, then I'm going to hit Volatile, then I'm going to hit Blockade of Storms, and now I'm just going to hold down my left click button until it comes off cooldown. So now I need to reapply them all. So I'm going to hit all 3, and then I'm just going to hold down my left mouse button all over again and rinse and repeat and do the same thing. Now you'll notice down at the bottom left, I'm hitting 200k damage per second while I did that, okay? So again, not entirely realistic situation because you have 9 enemies standing there in order, but 200,000 damage per second like that. So it does very strong AoE damage for not actually having an AoE spammable slotted. So that is the AoE rotation. Now I'm going to take a quick second and pause and talk about some survivability stuff while we're on this bar. Right now, what you see me have slotted right there is Elemental Drain, okay? For Parse purposes, we need that because you do not have a healer applying it to the boss for you. So you have to apply it to the target dummy yourself. Now, if you're running with a good healer or a good tank, one of the two of them will be using Elemental Drain to debuff the boss. So you don't need Elemental Drain in your rotation because someone else will be putting it on the boss. If you're unsure of whether the tank or healer is using it, or they're just not using it at all, then at that point you might want to keep it. But if you do not need it because you're running with a good healer, good tank, then you would want to slot Empowered Ward in its place, and this is just a shield, okay? So now this is really where the true survivability increase that I was talking about before comes in. So you're running 20k health because the tank probably has Eben. Even if the tank doesn't have Eben, you're running 19k, or you adjust your attributes and get up to 20k again. You also are dropping Empowered Ward, which is a 7.5k damage shield for 10 seconds. It also gives you 10% extra magic recovery when you use this for 10 seconds. You have your Summon Twilight Matriarch, which gives you a 7.5k heal whenever you hit it. So you have a 7.5k shield, you have a 7.5k heal, you have 20k base health, so that means you're running basically 28k health and a massive 8k heal, 7.5k heal whenever you need it. So this build has mad survivability, and on top of all that, excuse me, on top of all that, with those two skills, as long as the healer or tank is applying Elemental Drain, you're still hitting well over 50k with crazy survivability. Okay, so that is all about AoE and a quick snippet on survivability. Next up, we have the single target DPS rotation, so let's jump right into that. Alright, so now we're going to run over really quickly the single target rotation that will get you above 50k damage per second. Now, as I already mentioned in this video, you need to understand and fluently light attack weave, and also it helps if you're able to weave during weapon swapping. Once again, refer to my first video on how to light attack weave. We're not going to talk about that here. Okay, so the rotation skill-wise, again, assuming you're weaving a light attack between every single skill, the skill-wise rotation that we will be using is we're going to start off on the back bar and by first pre-buffing the target with Elemental Drain, because again, we don't have a tank or healer doing it for us right now because we're solo parsing. Of course, have your potions always active, so we start with pre-buffing with Elemental Drain. Okay, and then we're going to start off with the exact same rotation you saw for AoE. We're going to hit Lightning Flood first, we're going to hit Volatile next, we're going to hit Blockade of Storms next. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we're just going to drop all three of those in that order. Once we've dropped all three of those skills, we're going to weapon swap to the front bar. On the front bar, the first thing you hit is Daedric Prey. That's a 6-second long debuff, so Daedric Prey. And then you're going to hit four spammables, okay? So looking at the skills we have slotted here, Elemental Weapon is a spammable. It doesn't do damage over time, it's just one big hit, okay? Now, and again, high level, the different types of skills you have in this game are you have your damage over times, which you want to keep up, and then your spammable that basically it's always second priority. So your first priority is always to apply your damage over times, and then just use spammables in the space between until you need to refresh one of your damage over times. So that's what we're doing here, except we're doing it in a very structured way. Now, this is a very, very easy rotation. It's one of the reasons that I'm so pumped about making this video, because I feel like anyone can do this rotation easily, since it's not a dynamic rotation. It's a fixed rotation, and what fixed means is it's the exact same skills every single time. Okay, so it makes it nice and easy. So once again, we're going to start by pre-buffing with Elemental Drain. Hit Elemental Drain, then we're going to hit our first three skills. Lightning Flood, Summon Volatile, Blockade of Storms, and then we're going to weapon swap to our front bar, apply Daedric Prey, and do 4 spammables, okay? So you're going to hit Elemental Weapon. Now I'm going to pause for 1 second, because you see over here we have Crystal Fragments. Now, Crystal Fragments, when you haven't morphed to this, anytime you use another ability, there's a 35% chance that Crystal Fragments will be an instant cost and barely cost any magicka. So if the Crystal Fragments morph is available, hit that instead of Elemental Weapon as one of your 4 spammables, okay? If it's not, if the morph has not procced, then just use all 4 elemental weapons. All right, and then Once you've done 4, you swap back to your back bar and start over. Apply those 3 skills again, swap to your front bar, hit Daedric Prey, and hit 4 spammables again. And you just rinse and repeat. You do the same thing over and over and over. Super simple rotation. The only things that change at all in this rotation are if Crystal Fragments proc, if that's available, again, just hit that instead of Elemental Weapon when you're doing your 4 spammables. Other than that, Elemental Drain, you start off with pre-buffing that, but eventually that will wear off. When that does wear off, go ahead and just do 1, 2, 3, and then just do an Elemental Drain on top of that. So you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 skills on your back bar, and then you'll swap to your front bar. You'll hit Daedric Prey again, and this time, because you did 4 skills on your back bar instead of 3 skills, you're going to do 3 spammables on your front bar instead of 4 spammables. So in total, you're trying to hit 8 skills every single time you restart, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 spammables, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3 spammables, right? So those are the only things that change. And just like applying Elemental Drain, if you drop down your ultimate as part of your back bar rotation, then just do 1 less spammable on the front bar. Okay, it's like I said, nice and simple. So I'm just going to do that here now, and I'm not going to light attack weave at all, just so it's easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. I'm going to swap to Necropotence real quick, just so you guys don't have to look at that glowing ring to add more noise. Okay, so I'm in Necropotence right now. I hit my potion. I start by pre-buffing the target. I'm gonna hit my first skill, Lightning Flood. I drop Lightning Flood, then I hit Volatile Familiar. Then I hit Blockade of Storms. Now I swap to my front bar. I hit Daedric Prey, and now I hit 4 spammables. 1 spammable, 2 spammables, 3 spammables, 4 spammables. Now I'm switching back to my back bar and repeating. I'm going to apply Lightning Flood, my Volatile Familiar, Blockade of Storms. Now look, Elemental Drain just wore off, so I'm going to hit Elemental Drain while I'm on the back bar this time as well. So now when I'm on the front bar, since I added in an Elemental Drain, I'm only going to hit 3 spammables. So I'm going to go 1 spammable, 2 spammable, 3 spammables. Now I'm going to swap back to my back bar and start again. Lightning Flood, Volatile Familiar, Blockade of Storms, front bar, Daedric Prey, 1 spammable. And the Crystal Fragment proc is available, so that will be my second spammable. 3 spammables, 4 spammables. Swap to the back bar and start again. It is that simple. That is what you do the entire rotation. And the amazing things about how simple this rotation is the simpler a rotation is, the easier it is to keep it active, especially in hard vet trials. So a nice simple rotation like this is something you can do eventually, even while you're trying to move around and this, that, and the other thing. So it allows you to keep high damage even in situations where you wouldn't be able to do a dynamic rotation as easily. So that is the extent of that rotation. Once again, like I mentioned earlier, if you have a good tank or healer applying Elemental Drain, then you're going to have a shield there instead. So you can just hit that shield as part of your back bar skills whenever you feel you need it. You can add the shield in and just do 1 less tap on the front bar. If you do decide to not use the Shooting Star ultimate on your front bar, and use the Destruction Staff ultimate, Elemental Rage, then you're not going to change too much. You're just going to put Elemental Rage on your back bar and your Atronach on your front bar. And quick FYI, Atronach should always be the ultimate you drop for when you're doing a single target rotation. Elemental Rage or Shooting Star should be the AoE ultimate you drop when you're in an AoE situation. So you just drop whichever ultimate matches the situation you're in. Again, the rotation looks exactly the same with it slotted like this. You start off with your back bar, you do all 4 of these skills, right? You make sure you keep Elemental Drain active, and then on the front bar, if you're going to use your ultimate, just use your ultimate in place of one of the spammables. So after hitting Daedric Prey, instead of doing 4 spammables, I would drop my ultimate and do 3 spammables. So it looks pretty much exactly the same as having it on the back bar. So that's the extent of the single target rotation. I'm about to show you guys the parses that I personally did using Zan's and Sororias, and also Zans and Necropotents. The difference in DPS is about 2 to 3k, and we'll just look at those really quickly here. So let me load those up. All right, so this is when I was wearing Zan, Sororias, and Mother Sorrow, of course. Single target on a 6 million test dummy. That is a 56.2k parse, okay? So next, really quickly, I'm just going to mention the light attack ratio just to show how important it is. I did 58 light attacks on right there, a plus 42 on my lightning staff for a total of 100 light attacks over a time of 1.106 seconds. So 100 divided by 106. I had a 0.94 light attack ratio. For more details on that, watch the first Parse Paramedic video. So a 0.94 light attack ratio. Now we're going to pull up this is the same rotation. This is using Zans and Necropotents. Okay, so remember Necropotents is the one that you don't have to worry about the circle on the ground, and it gives a little bit better sustain. So Necropotents, I was able to hit 53.5k. All right, so with this one, again, let's look at the light attacks really quickly. 61, 48. That means in total I did 108 light attacks over a total of 112 seconds. So dividing 108 by 112 real quick, that's a light attack ratio of 0.96. So as you can see there, on both rotations, keeping that light attack ratio high is very important. All right, that's all I have to say on that. That is the entire build that I'm trying to show you guys. As you were able to see, it gives a lot of survivability, especially when you have the Empowered Ward for that 7.5k shield and the Twilight Matriarch for that 7.5k heal on top of your 20k health. Also, it does crazy AoE, as we saw. It was hitting like 200,000 in a perfect situation. And also, single target DPS hits crazy high, over 50k damage per second, with a rotation that is super easy. Once you get it down, you just do the same thing over and over. I love it. So now I'm going to play the actual Parse videos where I got to that 56.2k and I got to that 53.5k we were just looking at in CMX. So I hope you guys enjoy. I hope this video was super helpful to you guys. If it helped you, feel free to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. Feel free to also drop any comments you have down below. I would love to chat with you guys. And I'm still trying to figure out for sure what the third Parse Paramedic video is going to be on. It could be VMA, that's Veteran Master Marina. It could be on maybe the Warden class. It could be, there's a bunch of different options. So if any of you guys have a preference, let me know, and I will definitely think about that as I'm trying to figure out which one to make next. All right, you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and thank you for joining me.